We had a good time watching a lot of redheads. My search history.
I wasn't gonna make the joke, but I knew it was there.
Wow. How dare you leave scraps for me? The lowest hanging fruit. I'm glad you came up with it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. Hey, everybody. My name's John.
I'm Bob. He's Bi.
They're Butch.
And together we are the Butch and the Bi.
And this week, we had, well, multiple weeks. We had a good time watching a lot of things.
Yeah. Some food, some school.
Some more school. A lot of schooling. A lot of gothic.
A lot of
very
gothic.
Catholic undertones.
A lot of kids wearing uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot
not
of kids
a lot.
customizing their uniforms.
Yes. And not a lot of seeing actual school happen, which I know is not the point of the stories, but it's still weird to me.
And a number of redheads.
A number of redheads.
We had
is
a
true.
decent number of redheads across at least two of these things. Three? Oh, we did have three redheads. Yeah. We had a good time watching a lot of redheads. My search history.
I wasn't gonna make the joke, but I knew it was there.
Wow. How dare you leave scraps for me? The lowest hanging fruit. I'm glad you came up with it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we watched The Menu, which came out this year, which was delightful, little indie flick that was weird as hell. We also finished up Chucky Season 2, which was a lot of fun. And we watched in 2 days the Tim Burton Wednesday show on Netflix. And as we mentioned last time, we're playing around with things with the show as we approach different milestones and things that we want to do and projects that we want to work on. We need to make this a little more flexible. So Tuesdays will still be release days for the podcast and for the video version, but maybe it won't be every Tuesday. Maybe it might be like it's been for the last couple weeks, where it'll be the Tuesdays where we have both a recorded file and the bandwidth to get it processed. But we had a lot of stuff that we watched, and next week we're joined by our good buddy Brian Adams to watch the original Candyman, which I'm excited about because I've met Tony Todd and he's swell. So this week we had a lot of stuff that we watched and wanted to talk about. So we decided, you know what, we'll do that. And it'll be fun. So spoilers will be incoming for these three things. We will, when we switch gears into the different projects, we will let you know, hey, spoilers for this specific thing. But yeah, just a heads up that if any of those things were on your radar, you wanted to check them out, check them out before you listen to this, especially The Menu. The Menu we'll be starting with that. Bob, do you know who directed The Menu?
I do, but not because I've written his name, and it's...
You've written his name?
Because I was in one of the things.
Is it really?
Yeah, but not his name as the answer.
Oh, it's not the answer? Okay,
yeah,
good. Well,
just...
yeah, okay. Fun fact. Mylod?
I think Mylod.
Mylod, yeah.
Mylod?
Directed, and Seth Reese and Will Tracy wrote it. It is about a bunch of rich people basically going to this very fancy island run by this very eccentric chef played by Ralph Fiennes, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. I did figure out Rafe. It's not Ralph, it's Rafe, who played Voldemort in the Harry Potter movies. I hope that wasn't one of your questions because it would have been weak. He's in it as this very eccentric, very off chef. He's very strict and it's very militant the way his different, what are the underlings to chefs called? They sous chefs? Are they?
Well, the sous chef is like a specific person who is your second in command, like a first mate.
Is that who the one lady was that was like bangs and...
No, because he introduces the first guy as his sous chef, the man who is good but will never be great.
Yeah.
And yeah,
so just chef underlings.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's his
students, so to speak.
Yeah, his devotees.
Accurate.
Mm-hmm.
It also stars Anya Taylor-Joy. She has 5 names. Was that one of your trivia questions?
No.
Okay, thank God. Now it's a fun minefield of it. Am I about to ruin one of your trivia questions?
That part of the thing of building the trivia now is also trying to be weird enough that it's not going to be a
Makes
thing that
sense.
you already found out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Who is playing this character who's brought on as a date to Nick Holt's character. And yeah, it's just like these really fancy courses until it's not these really fancy courses. Bob, what are your initial thoughts on the menu? You wanted to see it. I think you pushed to go see it. I wanted to at some point, but
Yeah, no. Well, I saw the trailer and I was like, this is not something I normally. Before I met you, I'd have been like, oh, that looks like an interesting concept, but I don't know that I'm cut out for it. And now I was like, well, this looks interesting, and John wants to go see it. Cool. And then I saw that reviews were good, and you're like, okay, we need to go see this. And I really enjoy it. I love the multiple layers of commentary on things, and I am a big fan of things that are like that when you're looking at like, am I supposed to be laughing or scared? Is this serious? Is this tongue in cheek? I like that sort of ambiguity, which is part of the reason I like the ending. I was like, it just had an emotional punch, and I was like, yeah, this works for the vibes, even if some people are not going to enjoy it. I loved it through and through. Yeah, it I genuinely, we were sitting in the theater, and there are times where we were just holding on to each other's hands, being like, what's happening? What's happening? Which is always very fun to share in that visceral watching experience, which doesn't happen all that much with us, often because you've already seen a thing.
Yeah, usually it's only really a suspense movie that I'm like, we're sitting there. Because even with like the Marvel stuff, I don't get as tense. Like, Infinity War took that out of me, kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, now the rest of this is just a roller coaster ride, kind of thing. But yeah, it's a very good thriller. I've been describing it to people. The way I view it is kind of like how Scream was for slasher horror movies. This is for thriller, like suspense movies. This is very much. It's not a parody. And it's not 100% satire, but there's definitely
it is self-aware.
It's very self-aware, and it pokes fun at a lot of the tropes of these types of movies, which I think was really fun. But it's done in a way like Scream, where it's also being a very good version of that. It is not punching down for the sake of punching down. It's punching right at itself in a way, which is really good. And the way I've really described it is I think a lot of people will really enjoy it for that facet. I think the only thing that people are really going to be kind of, you're either going to strongly like it or you're going to like viscerally hate it is the ending of the movie. But outside of that part specifically, I mean, this is just such a good movie. And Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy, both, they play off of each other wonderfully. So she's playing this date to this event, so to speak. It's like $12,000 a head or something ridiculous. And this movie very much is a commentary on like class, which is really fascinating they mentioned it in the trailer a little bit, but I did not expect them to dig as heavily into that subject as they did. And Ralph Fiennes is playing this chef that is kind of, he has reached the peak of his craft, of his art, and he is getting sick and tired realizing that his clientele has become only the rich and the elite and the wealthy, that, you know, they expect so much but they don't respect it, kind of thing.
And they're not, that is honestly a thing as an artist and creative that's just like, I want to make stuff and be paid fairly, but also the people that I actually want to make art for are the people who can't afford my art because I have to survive in capitalism, and is part of the reason that it sucks if you can't find a way to make your art accessible in some way, because that is the thing. He's gotten to the point where he only serves people he actually dislikes.
Yeah, no, there's one part where he's calling out one of the guests, and he's like, "You've been here so many times.
You've been
Name
here
one of my previous meals."
11 times, most people. He's like, and he's pointing that. I was like, that's a ridiculous amount for you and your wife to both come 11 times. That's $24,000. What have I served? And they do these presentations with each course of like explaining what the food is.
He's telling a story.
So it's not like they hadn't heard him say all of those times, however many courses they've had, all these different meals.
They couldn't even get the core ingredient right.
Nope.
That's the wild part to me. Not the wild part. It makes sense because that's what it's going for. And then, but it's revealed as the night goes on that this isn't just your typical, oh man, an artist is mad about things. This is going straight into just insanity. The first big twist of it is that he brings out his sous chef, apparently. And he's having him, the sous chef's presenting himself and talking about, what he wants and does he want to be him? And he ends up killing himself, which is like, it's a big shock, but like you knew something was coming. And that wasn't even for me the popping of the cork, so to speak, for this movie. That was when it started to get more intense for the guests. And when we see, a bunch of the stuff that comes after that. And Nick Holt's playing this foodie. He's very much, he studies it so much to the point where he's looking at it as a skill or a status of elitism to know what all the different flavors are supposed to be. He knows what he's supposed to say. It's not that he actually is
skilled in any way. He knows all the right words and terminology.
Yeah.
And he's the thing I sort of feels like he's approaching it all like, oh, this is very cool and I'm very into this, but he's also like mean to other people who are not into it, which is sort of the thing of like the way he treats Margot.
Yeah.
Is he's so like he's dismissive, and then there's a point where he just fully is just rude as fuck to her.
The point where I did not care whether his character lived or died was when he snapped at her like a child and then literally called her a child. Nick Holt plays an excellent incel.
He is. So I was like, in my process for finding information about this for trivia, I go through like different lists and what people have played, because I was like, the things most recently that I've seen him in this, and then I've seen him in trailers for the Catherine, he's playing like a Russian czar who's a real asshole, and I was like, oh yeah, he's got asshole face. But then looking back, he's played some not. He's had an interesting career of being like, when he first started, people like, oh my God. And then he had a few movies, people were like, it sucked. And just like that, very interesting. The critic response to the art that you make, which is another element of this.
Yeah.
But I was just like, he also reminds me so much of Grant O'Brien from College Humor stuff, who is is also very good at playing a little weasel of a man. And there's just something about both of them, like they have excellent weasel of a man aesthetics, and he's so good at it. He makes it so easy and so enjoyable to hate him. So props to him on that. But also he did play a character in Mad Max Fury Road, and
I've never seen any of the Mad Max movies.
I haven't seen the other ones. I just saw Fury Road. Saw with our friend Char, actually. It was the first time we hung out outside of the time that I met them initially. And
go back to episode 12, 13.
Something like that. But yeah. And then that was just interesting. Also in that movie, he's one of the war boys whose guy's face is all painted. He's like shaved. He's also done he's very committed to acting. He's done a lot of intense stuff for his roles.
Yeah. The critic relationship, though. So we've got, I can't remember the woman's name, but she plays Jessica Jones's mother in season 2. Jessica Jones, Janet McTeer, and she is playing this very. She's a critic that makes or breaks a restaurant. If she gives a restaurant a negative review, that restaurant is closing.
Much like
the character
Anton
from
Ego and his destruction of the restaurant.
She's joined by her cohort, which I just love this. It's Paul Adelson, who played Dr. Cooper in Private Practice, which is the spinoff to Grey's Anatomy. He's a pediatrician that's a whore, but not in the bad way. He is a whore separately, and then a pediatrician, and a good one. He's one of the more fun characters in that show.
I believe it was he's her editor? I think
he's like her publicist or manager or something for that sort of specific interview.
Yes, and she's the original one who got this chef, who put him on the map, as he said. And he's like, I wonder what map that is.
Yeah, so then it's revealed that Margot's actually there not as a real date, but she's been paid because she is an escort. And the
whole experience has been catered very specifically to these people who are the wealthy, the elite who can afford to experience this and who
And
do not
he
respect
very
it.
much picks up on the fact that, like, no, you're not one of them. You're one of us. You're the working class. And that becomes more and more clear, like, throughout the night. But it also turns out that one of the other guests, the older man that can't remember a fucking dish and gets his finger cut off, he had paid her to do things because she looked like his daughter that is dead.
Which is a discussion he has with his wife before we learn about that, where she's like, that person really looks like our daughter. And he's like, no, she doesn't. And it's really sad because it's not even like a super when the chef is questioning her about, like, what did you do? She's like, he wanted me to watch him and just say that I was like, I'm proud of you. You were a good dad. It's just the most basic. It's heartbreaking in that, like, oh yeah, wealthy people are so extremely disconnected from humanity in their lives and they are miserable.
Yeah. And Margot eventually discovers that his first big thing, he was a burger flipper. He was, and so she just toys the system so well to get out of this situation. She gets him to make her a burger so she can take the leftovers home because the meal needs to be finished.
Because she ends up in his like little bunker where he has all his newspaper clippings from his life, and the first one she sees is him flipping a burger and looking genuinely happy. And she gets told, like, they are told at certain points, like, you're gonna die. Everyone has to die for it to work, which is the story that is being told through this meal. But because she asks him to make this burger and lets him feel that joy of making food that someone genuinely enjoys the food that you make. And then she's asked, can I take it to go? And he says yes. And he lets her go.
She gets to leave, and then he makes dessert, which is human s'mores. This is the weird ending. This is where I think it's going to lose a lot of people. It's great. It's really weird. They are wrapped up in these little marshmallow ponchos. They're given chocolate. What's the hat?
This is like a chocolate, like.
It looks like the Doctor Who wears one.
Fez.
It looks like a big chocolate fez.
Graham cracker crumbles. It was really cool talking about in interviews. He was talking about like working with actual chefs to figure things out, and like that dessert is like a thing that you would do on like a full table, and they did it on a full restaurant layout.
There's some really great suspenseful moments with his first in command, the real first in command.
Yes.
There's this great fight scene between her and Margot, and there's this thing where he tells Margot, hey, go get this barrel for me because this person didn't do it. And she attacks Margot because she's like, you can't take my job. He never told me to do that.
Yes.
I didn't fail.
Yes, exactly. That was a moment that was so just like, it was like she was like, she knew she was going to die because that was the whole point of the evening. But she decided in that moment, but the last thing she had to say was to make it clear that she was good at her job, was like, he never told me about that. I did not forget. And then stabs herself in the throat.
Yeah. Played by Hong Chow.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a fun movie. It's a great cast.
Hong Chow, who to try, one of her notes is that she, in trying to work through her fear of like doing public things, did improv.
Fun.
Yeah. So she was like, I'm an introvert and I need to gain some skills on how to talk to people, and she did improv.
Yeah.
So.
Who were the two comedians that were producers on this that we saw? One was Will Ferrell. Was the other? It was just the fact that it was Will Ferrell and Adam McKay. Hey, Bob.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Welcome to episode 14.2. So next up we're going to talk about Chucky season 2, which is the second season in the Chucky TV series, which is the continuing of the Child's Play franchise. We did an episode talking about all of the Chucky movies before season 1 came out. You can go back and listen to that for the thoughts that we had, you know. First season, we loved it. Second season, playfully wacky, but definitely ends on a weird note. Very Don Mancini note.
Sure did Mancini that.
He sure did Mancini that. So for those that haven't been in the know, Don Mancini has been responsible for everything in the Chucky franchise since Seed of Chucky. And he is the showrunner on the show. He worked on, was it Hannibal was the one he worked on?
Yes. I believe
Yes.
so.
Yeah, he worked on one of the horror adaptation shows. And this season sees our main characters played by Zachary Arthur, Borjvin,
Bjorsen?
Bjorvjin
Something like that.
Arneson. He's great. I don't know how to pronounce that name. And oh God, is that Olivia?
I believe so.
Yeah, or Alivia. Olivia Ellen Lind. I realize I've never said these other than Zachary Arthur's name. I've never said the other two out loud. Brad Dourif as Chucky. Devon Sawa is in the show. Jennifer Tilly, Fiona Dourif. And yeah, they're sent to a Catholic school after Chucky kills a kid. Finally, for the first time ever. It's been a goal of his, a long-standing goal. And it follows the three going to Catholic school to repent for their sins. And there's a lot of, similar to the first season, there is a lot of self-insert stuff from Don Mancini, from his growing up and coming up in the world. And then also just a lot of reflecting, some of the world outside. But we do get to explore more of the concept of multiple Chuckies that was introduced. And we get some pretty wacky, fun versions. Bob, I want to know, what's your favorite Chucky that we got this year?
Oh man. I think the thing that was fun about Chucky's is how they played off of each other, because instead of being like, we're working together, it's like, what's going on with you? Hey, you're me, but I hate you.
Yeah, it was very much as opposed to just an army of Chuckies that were all the same. We got very distinct Chuckies this year. We got a muscle boy Chucky.
Buff Chucky.
Buff Chucky. We got the Colonel, what was he called?
Yeah, the Colonel.
Which was very much like a Marlon Brando type, very mafia mobster boss.
Also, originally is bald Chucky, and part of his motivation is that the other Chuckies make fun of him because he's bald.
And then we get Good Chucky, which is Brad Dourif doing Chucky doing the good guy doll voice, basically. It's a very playful, jovial, youthful Chucky, as though he were a child, because they brainwash him at one point to try to get information out of him. And yeah, there's a lot of really fun stuff in this season. I think the first season's a lot tighter of a story. That just feels like if you were to take a Chucky movie and make a meal out of it kind of thing. This feels like maybe it would have worked better as a movie. I think I have mixed feelings about the second season because it's very fun. We also paired it, much like a fine wine with a steak. We paired it with Dead Meat's after shows where they talk to cast and crew throughout the entire season, each week after each episode, which was a lot of fun. And we got a lot of fun insights, and I definitely just recommend checking that out if you watched the show and you want to know more. But it did, by the end of the season, there were a number of little disappointments that I had. So spoilers, duh. But in this season, we get reintroduced to Glenn and Glenda, who are the seed of Chucky and Tiffany, and they are now the fully grown, the 18-year-old children of Jennifer Tilly. These are the twins that were born in seed, and immediately Glenn and Glenda were split and put into them. And they grew up. They both became very fucking cool kids. It was like, yeah, this is great. Lachlan Watson, who played one of the friends on Sabrina the Teenage Witch on Netflix, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, plays them both to perfection. This is one of the best actor acting with actor themselves kind of thing. The double they were working with was apparently really great because it's near seamless. They brought such an excellent quality to the role and to playing those twins. And Tiffany Valentine's finally starting to face the consequences of what happens when you possess a celebrity for nearly 20 years, which is that eventually people are going to realize, hey, you're really weird. And that includes Meg Tilly playing Meg Tilly, Jennifer Tilly's real sister. And we learn that Jennifer Tilly did not die in the doll of Tiffany when they switched. No. she survived, and Jennifer Tilly's been keeping her in a birdcage, Hannibal Lecter style, having her do the voice work for Family Guy as Bonnie and doing all of the accounting to be paid in chocolate, which was a fun throwback to see. And basically Meg Tilly comes over after we get a really great dinner party episode with the cast of Bound and Meg Tilly. It was such a fun episode. There's a lot of really fun plays on like Clue and like it's very much they think they're living through a murder mystery game kind of thing. In reality, it's just no, you're dealing with Jennifer Tilly, Tiffany Valentine situation. And it comes to the head of Meg finding out what happened and that Jennifer is in the doll, promptly getting killed. And Glenn is there for all of that. And Tiffany finally reveals, yeah, the reason you guys don't feel complete as individuals is because you never were individuals. You both were in the head of this doll. And this is another element that I think I've seen some fans kind of disappointed in, because for the time, Glenda, which was a play on Glenda already, was seen as queer, like trans representation, very loosely. And then from the perspective of the actual like voodoo of it all, it was more of like a two-spirit type of thing. And so with the, hey, put them in twins kind of thing, and then they both grow up and realize they were non-binary and all of those wonderful things, only to, by the end of the season, for them to end up back in the doll together, which has some fun fan service because Billy Boyd returns to voice now called Gigi. But at the same time, it kind of implements it into this. I don't know. What is your take on that facet of it? Because to me, it hit kind of weird where it changed it from like mediocre queer representation to really great queer representation to kind of undoing it a little.
It kind of made me sad, partly because Lachlan Watson is really good, and also because I really just want them to be able to find something without having to go back into the doll.
Yeah.
It had this feeling of like, your parents set you up for failure. Sorry. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Like we get so much great development with them individually, and it just feels very... Yeah, it wasn't a great conclusion but they were great in the season. I think that's the hard part. Is Lachlan Watson was a phenomenal addition to the cast. And we also get kind of this like Avengers style meetup of all the characters from everything at this point. Andy and Kyle return in various capacities. We get Fiona Dorff's character, who's been in all of the recent stuff, finally interacting with a lot of these characters, which she hadn't done before. And they do an exorcism of Chucky in the church, and he possesses the priest, and they blow him up, and it's amazing. And they do like 16 different camera angles of it that they then play action movie style.
Yes, Devon Sawa has now died 3 times. He got electrocuted, he got beaten to death by a Chucky, and now he's been exploded.
Just in the Chucky franchise.
Yes.
He got killed off screen in the Final Destination franchise. Fun spoiler alert for that. Because he's I need to make you watch those movies at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but he gets to be Chucky briefly, and is very good at it. And it's very fun.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I enjoyed is very much the approach, because Devon Sawa was talking about this on the after show, was Brad had to keep giving people the note of, it's not that you're pretending to be Brad Dourif doing Chucky. You are Chucky as though he only has access to your vocal cords, which is technically correct. And which is why it's really cool that they get Billy Boyd back for Gigi, because it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But and then we end, so the main arc ends, and then we get the 3 main kids they're back home for Christmas in Hackensack. They're staying with the
ex-mayor.
The ex-mayor, the one character's mom. She's just the most heinous person. And it's Christmas time. And Chucky and Tiffany both have reasons for going here. Chucky wants to kill the kids, and Tiffany wants the Belle doll so that she can escape being on the run. And she wants to go back into the Tiffany doll. And we get this really great like mini Chucky Christmas special. It has a really great kill with so he finds the world's quietest chainsaw that he orders and he brings, and the mayor gets cut in half, which was a very fun kill. And then Chucky how did Chucky, he gets cut up in little pieces by Lexi with the chainsaw. Tiffany is there and she's trying to get the Belle doll, and Caroline, Lexi's little sister, who was kind of weird last season and this season got weirder, like turns on the kids and like helps Tiffany and goes with her. And then we get this reveal when she's trying to possess the Tiffany doll that it's actually another Chucky doll that was disguised as a Belle doll. And it's just such a Mancini ending.
It's such a Mancini ending, and it's ridiculous. And
I think the problem with me is that this season felt like a very good, it could have been a very natural conclusion to this 30-plus-year-old continuing arc. I think it's very much the comparison I made when that episode ended. I was like, oh, this is like our D&D campaign where we built towards a natural ending and then decided to keep playing. And so now it's just building the railroad tracks in front of us.
It is. Oh, I forget who had said it, but specifically in Wallace and Gromit, there's a bit where they're throwing tracks in front of a train as it goes. And someone at one of the shows that we were in brought that up. I was like, oh, yes, exactly. That's a gif I could pull up. And that is very much, it's just like, you could have resolved things and you didn't. Okay, Don.
Yeah, it's...
And we haven't mentioned her, but justice for Nadine.
Oh my God, yeah. So they introduced this little nerd that's like clearly batshit insane.
So good. I
as
love
Lexi's
her.
roommate, who's dealing with a drug issue this season, which makes sense given her whole history.
Yeah.
But like she's very overly friendly. She's a very overly takes everything very seriously at school kind of thing. And she becomes very endeared to the good Chucky, which just and Zach's character, God, why can't I remember any of these kids' names? I know Devin's the boyfriend, right?
Yeah. He's
Kyle?
No, Kyle.
Which one's Kyle? Is he the one that gets
Kyle
fisted in the chest?
No, Kyle is the older sister from Potter.
Kyle is the older sister. What the hell's the main character's name?
Look at your little
Jake.
box of...
I have the little box of information. Jake Wheeler. What was I saying? I was going somewhere.
He was trying really hard to get this Chucky redeemed and to believe him that he had changed.
He was listening to the priest, which is the problem here. There was a priest.
Don't listen to the priest, and it's
don't
nice as
that
that
Catholic Church.
Yeah, even the very nice nun. Don't. Yeah. She was giving good advice that was bad for the situation. You can't forgive Chucky.
Yeah. So it's a season that like had a strong start, a strong premise. Had a possible strong conclusion, and then derailed it at like the last second just to go like sideways, and then like wrote off one of the more interesting characters with like Glenn and Glenda and Lachlan, like just to send Gigi's gonna go to Europe as a doll. And it's like, okay, great, I guess, but like whatever. And then Nadine. So the good Chucky kind of runs off from them. They chase him up to the bell tower, and he throws her off the bell tower, and she lands right in the arms of Mary. And it's a rough kill. And then Lexi has a like blue fairy fever dream of her.
Which she looks very cute, and that was a very sweet little goodbye to Bella. I believe Higginbotham is her last name.
Yes, she has a very fun hidden name. Where is it? Yeah, Bella Higginbottom. She was great in this.
Yeah, delightful. I hope to see her in many more things because she was so much fun, and everyone who talked about her was like, yeah, she's so much fun.
Oh, and then we get a very last minute bringing back the teacher from the first season to like adopt the kids, which is going to be an arc.
Yeah, something, because now they're all orphans. They've all been orphaned over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so Mancini.
It's so you know how in animation there's like you can draw out a little timeline of things. There's like this is the slow steady and then everything happens here. It really feels like Don Mancini is like, okay, we have a character that's walking and then there's a crazy like rah, and it's a whole bunch of keyframes right next to each other. That's how it feels. I was like, okay, this is a normal walk cycle. Oh, the character just exploded. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a lot of animation to do.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel.
Yeah, it's the Chucky franchise. I always, my horror recommendation always goes, first two movies are two of the best horror movies ever made. 3 and Seed are an acquired taste. I really enjoy both. Seed is the redheaded stepchild of the group, which is very funny. Bride's a lot of fun because it came out shortly after Scream, because it was like, oh, Scream made slashers cool again. Let's do this. And then you get a very long hiatus after Seed, and you get Cult of Chucky, which takes it back to its horror roots. It's really great, but it's direct to DVD, so it's got that budget. Curse, yeah. Curse. And then Cult, which again we don't like Cult here in this house. Who said they liked Cult?
The Jim's Janice on.
Yeah, they love it. I hate them. The worst. No. But yeah, we don't like Cult in this house, and it's a weird franchise. I don't recommend getting into it as deep as we have. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this.
It's fine. We have to do something together.
Right. Speaking of doing things together, hey Bob.
Hey John.
Welcome to episode 14.3 of the podcast, where we had a good time watching Wednesday on Netflix. This is showrunned miserably by Tim Burton. It's, great, whatever. It's got his vibe, I guess. But it's also created by Alfred Goh and Miles Miller, who, if those names don't sound familiar, boy, do I have a story for you. Back in 2001, we were introduced on the WB to a young version of Clark Kent, played by Tom Welling. These two were the showrunners for that. And they've grown as producers and as creatives. But it also stars one of our favorite breakouts of this year and last year, which is Jenna Ortega playing the titular character. And then a bunch of other wacky characters. We've got Gwendolyn Christie as the kind of the headmistress of this school for outcasts, as they're called. And the outcasts are actually like, they're both outcasts in the social sense, but also in the sense of they are literal, like, Universal Picture style monsters. We've got the werewolves, we've got the vampires, which are the more goth kids than Wednesday, which is very funny. Like, somehow they're the gothiest of goth kids. And then we've got, we
have Gorgons, which is what Medusa is. The Sirens.
Yes, the Sirens are the scream queens of the school, the prom queens of the school, kind of thing. And then
some other less common, and then people who are psychic or have visions and stuff like that.
Were they called seers?
Yeah, seers.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a fun, I think, adaptation of the character. That's the interesting thing, is it's the first time we're getting one of these characters not just in the home element, which to me, so there's the original 60s series, which is based off of the newsprint comic, and then there's the 90s Addams Family and Addams Family Values movies, which people adore in our generation, as they should. They're very fun movies. And then we get this, which is just focusing on Wednesday Addams, which, spoilers, duh. The rest of the Addams Family bunch is only in 2 episodes. We only get 1 episode with Uncle Fester, and then Thing we have in the whole episode, which it's such a great, it's not one of your trivia questions. It's such a great practical effect because it's literally just a man chasing everybody around on all fours while his hand is done up in special effects makeup to look like Thing, and so he can crawl around, and he's just in this blue suit, and they have to just composite him out of every shot. And I'm so glad that not only is that the route they took, like, I would have been fine with the CGI hand for sure, but it allowed them to use the character more, so that by the time they do a thing, oh man, did I feel things. But basically Wednesday in a revenge attempt to kind of get back at her little brother's bullies, drops piranhas in the swimming pool at the high school she's at, which is a felony. And somehow, plot convenience, Morticia and Gomez, played to, I think, very great effect by Catherine Zeta-Jones and
Luis Guzman.
Yeah, I was thinking of John
Leguizamo,
who's
from
in the menu. Yeah.
Yep.
Luis Guzman, who is famous to me only for Community. And not even that he's in one episode of Community, but they reference him so goddamn much. And they're playing this very, well, at least he's playing this very kind of more accurate to the comic strip version of Gomez, but there's still that romance. There's still that thing. And I think if we were given a full season with those characters, I think they would have been, the chemistry would have been even better. But I think for what they were, which was supporting characters in this, they aren't the main characters in this. It's very good. The kid they got for Pugsley, adorable. He's great. He played, it's Wednesday's dumb little brother that she tortures. Like, that's literally what the role is. So, and they have Fred Armistance as Fester. And he's great because he has like actual lightning powers in this, which is a really fun play on his whole being able to light bulbs bit. And then, yeah, we've got just a great cast of like kid, teen, young adult actors playing all of Wednesday's peers. And this is just a paint by numbers Harry Potter story.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's classic hero's journey.
Yeah, but like when I say that, I don't mean just hero's journey. I mean like the competition on the lake, and like there's a lot of it that it's not just like echoes, it's just straight up.
Well, Harry Potter also took from a lot of other things.
True. Yes.
That's just the thing that is biggest in your consciousness of the reference point.
As it should be. Fuck J.K. Rowling. But anyway, it's fun. It's such a fun show. What was, I guess, what was your favorite part about the show?
Oh, I love just looking at a character and being like, you're so autistic. And just being like, yep. Oh man. Yeah. And I say that not as like an excuse for her being very rude. She also is learning throughout the process of this how to handle having connections with people and realizing that it's worth it to change your behavior sometimes because having relationships is important. And this is a hard thing when you're like, I am myself and I am so fully myself, which I really related to. And then also realizing sometimes you are yourself to your own detriment.
Hello. This is our friend Betsy, who has been our bathroom cat. I think we mentioned her previously on.
She has been mentioned. She has not yet been pictured.
She has not been pictured. She is, I'm going to move Chucky. She is a lovely little friend of ours.
If you want to support a really cool rescue, they're animal advocates in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They pay for everything, and we just get to love her. So
yeah,
it's been really nice.
Just a fantastic kitty. We wish we could adopt her ourselves.
Unfortunately, Squeakeasy is a jerk.
Yeah, and this one has FIV, which is super contagious to other cats.
Yeah, she could still have a wonderful life, and we hope that she gets adopted by someone who loves her little old lady self and maybe has another cat with FIV because, yeah.
She's so friendly. So she's meowing, so we wanted to say hello, but I figured this would be a good opportunity to record us talking about her, even if it doesn't go in this episode specifically.
It's an interesting balance you have to learn to strike between being yourself and being kind to other people, even when that's not your first impulse because you haven't learned how to do that yet.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting because a lot of people on social media are comparing kind of the reaction and approach to Wednesday the same as Eddie from Stranger Things. And in the sense of it's an alt kid who's getting kind of popularized by maybe people that aren't typically alt, and even to a degree would be considered the type to make fun of alt kids or outcasts, which I think is rooted in a lot of trauma. I think a lot of people are coming from places of their personal situation, because the beauty of life after you get out of high school, after you get out of public high school, is you're kind of in a little more control of the situation of who your group of people are. School's hard because you're forced to be with a lot of the same people every day, 5 days a week for 12 years at least. And that can be difficult, especially if you don't fit in with a lot of the people in your community already. And I think the comparison being made, I can see where it's coming from, but that's the main difference here between Wednesday and Eddie, which both could be to a degree coded as autistic or neurodivergent, is Wednesday's kind of an asshole. And that's what this show is about, is her kind of growing up, because she's a teenage girl. Teenage girls are hormonal and they're going to be assholes. Teenage boys are hormonal and they're going to be assholes. Everybody goes through puberty and becomes a fucking asshole. And so that is what her arc is about. And I really appreciate that they were willing to go into that nuance in this type of show, because it's very much produced like a typical like Riverdale, Smallville style reimagining of this existing character from the 50s or 60s. And there's that bit of nuance in there of, this is a character that unabashedly lives her own way, which is great, until it's harming others, which is it's that with great power comes great responsibility thing. You're the protagonist of the story. You need to take a little more responsibility because people are dying. Your friends are getting hurt, both from outside forces and just from you withholding information or not being clear about things. And Jenna Ortega is just really fun in this, and her interactions with all the characters are really fun. There is this creature that's going around and killing things, and we're going to skip ahead here a little bit to kind of get through it, but it's revealed that it's a Jekyll and Hyde situation, which I really love, that being the thing, is that it's a Jekyll and Hyde, and it's throughout the whole season you're trying to figure out, okay, who's the monster, because clearly it's someone transforming into this monster. Is it the principal? Is it the sheriff of the town? Is it the mayor? It wasn't the mayor. Is it her therapist, who is played by what's her name, Ricky Lindholm of
Garfunkel and Oates.
Garfunkel and Oates, yeah. Not Hall and Oates.
I just love how they both have their own little careers now. It's like, look at you. It turns out to be someone.
It's her love interest, though, Tyler, specifically.
Who is supposedly a normie kid, but his mother
was a Hyde as well. And and it's that. So Christina Ricci, we didn't even talk about this. Christina Ricci is the botanist teacher in this show. Who's a normie. She's phenomenalist. For those that don't know, because people would not know if they had never seen them or paid attention to it, or they're younger. Christina Ricci played Wednesday Addams in the 90s movies. And there's been a big social media push for years now for her to play, either Morticia, like a younger Morticia in a movie, or a grown up Wednesday Addam, and do more of a, I'm trying to think of which, they've done it before with characters like this, where they've done the grown up, well, Riverdale to a degree kind of thing. But anyways, play like a grown-up Wednesday Addams. And that didn't come to fruition in this, but they managed to get her involved for this as this botanist character, and she's the most supportive teacher. She's the nicest. You don't want her to be the villain, but oh golly gee is she.
Because she is descended from a nasty Puritan colonist.
Yeah, colonialism and Puritanism are the villains in this.
Yeah.
And it's great because fuck pilgrims. But yeah, she plays it. So she plays the nice side so well. And then when she has her little villain twist, where it reveals that, so basically if you awaken a Hyde, you become its master. And so that's what she did, because she is the sister of the boy that Morticia killed when they were at the school as high schoolers, that Gomez took the blame for but wasn't imprisoned for, and then when he is back for one of the episodes, he is arrested for. It's this whole thing, and you're led to believe that maybe her therapist is that, but it's not her, and it is instead Christina Ricci's character, which she's just so. That heel turn's great. She then gets swarmed by bees as like her death, and then gets curb stomped by Wednesday. And I wonder if the implication is that Wednesday killed her. Because like we don't really find out. So I'm like, part of me is like, well, damn it, we don't get to see Christina Ricci again. And the other part of me is like, yeah, no shit, she was only going to be in one season. Like,
yeah, sort of similar thing with Gwendolyn Christie. I was like, oh, she was so good. Also, a really sweet thing was that she said this is like the first role where she felt beautiful in her character, and I was like, oh, that's nice.
She's been dealt such a shitty hand, as not shitty as in like, you know, she's an actor in a lot of high paying roles. But I mean, she was in the new Star Wars movies, and she got the Boba Fett treatment where like, you look cool, but man, does your character suck, and you're in a mask almost the entire time. So like nobody really knows it's Gwendolyn Christie. She was in Game of Thrones playing the very like butch character that people like, oh, she's ugly, or oh, what a man, like kind of thing. So I can see why that would be the case. She's very glam in this.
Yeah, and she's gotten to do a couple things. They said specifically she got to choose some of the direction for her characters. So it's very much like, she's like, this is what I want it to be. And so her getting that was just, it was nice. It was a little thing I saw that was nice.
Yeah. There's a bunch of the clips have been coming out with interviews of the cast and stuff. And then there's a couple with Jenna Ortega and her, and Jenna is flustering, making Gwendolyn Christie flustered by being like, oh yeah, this is my wife, like just openly flirting, which is kind of weird because one's 20 and the other's in their 40s, but also it's very cute because it's clearly an endearing thing.
Yes, it's clearly a young adult being like, this woman is beautiful and my wife, and the older adult is like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. She's just like, this is so embarrassing. Like I know it's very much just like, you need to chill out, but also I know that it's the generational divide of like, I know this is how you're complimenting me. And it's
but please stop, we're on camera.
Yes. It's very much like, okay, I understand this is because Gen Z has taken that sort of thing to such an extreme of just like the most extreme hyperbole for.
Oh, I'm aware.
Yes.
Hello, Lar, who doesn't listen to this at all.
Yeah. Another thing where also they set up some stuff for a second season. I was like, you didn't need to.
So clearly this team was having a lot of fun making this show. It's a very fun show. Is it a fantastic, perfect show? No.
There's some amazing performances, great special effects and stuff.
The special effects for Thing is one of the best practical effects we've gotten in years. And then also the special effects for the monster. Yeah. It's a very classic Tim Burton look of a character. Yes. It does look like kind of in the things that he's produced. But it's it's a decent time. We had fun. We binged it in 2 nights. And like, if you're into the Addams Family, you're not gonna hate this. Like, it's not stomping on the grave of your childhood. Like, I don't know. There have definitely been some adaptations and remakes and such that I'm like, ugh. But like, this is definitely, it's a fun one. It's cute. It's a cute time. I am disappointed that we didn't get any sort of like pop punk alt rock like Paramore cover of the Addams Family theme. That was another fun thing, is so the Addams Family theme contains the snaps, and there's this secret society in school because it's a school story and there needs to be a secret society, and it's a statue of Edgar Allan Poe, and you snap at it twice for it to turn, and so they have a lot of fun little references and Easter eggs for fans. There's the one last thing about this, unless it's going to ruin one of your trivia questions.
I don't think
it's about dancing.
No.
Okay. So there's the ball. It's like a snowball, basically. The girl asks the guy, kind of thing, and Wednesday agrees to go, kind of thing. She agrees to ask, and then it's a whole thing. But anyway, she's doing this dance, which Jenna Ortega choreographed that like right before. But the beginning part of it is actually taken right from the 60s cartoon where the original Wednesday Addams is doing this little dance with Lurch, and it's that little like leg wiggle and arm thing that she's doing, like where she crosses her arm and stuff, and it's just like a fun little like throwback to that. I think the team that made this cared about the character. They had fun with it. They told a story that was good, and it had like a lot of great messaging for young people. So like,
I love her werewolf roommate Enid, who hasn't wolfed out yet, and
I kept wanting to call her Skittles.
But who has to set a boundary with her mother. This is a trope that comes up so often where it's like the mother is very overbearing, the father doesn't speak at all until he says something very supportive and loving. And I don't know, that's bread and butter. But yeah, she has to set a boundary with her mother. Like, it will happen when it happens, and I'm not going to try to work on your
Make it
timeline.
a conversion wolf camp.
Yeah, to try and wolf out sooner than I am ready to. And she does when she needs to protect her friend, and it's very sweet.
She has very colorful fingernails, and when she gets stressed or anxious or whatever, her claws pop out, and I kept wanting to call her Skittles because of that. But
amazing.
I realized, I think she called someone Skittles at the beginning of it, and then there's also a facet of that's just another character from a fictional thing. Anyways, moving right along, Bob, we have our continued now tradition of doing some trivia at the end of every episode, which is a lot of fun. I'm tempted to make Brian come up with the trivia for next week, but I feel like we'll suffer.
Amazing.
So go ahead and take it away.
All right, we'll go in the order that we talked about them. The menu. The idea for the menu has been around for a while before co-writer Will Tracy brought it to director Mike Mylod. Ralph Fiennes has been attached to it for a while, but the character of Margaret was previously going to be played by what other snarky redheaded actress?
Amy Adams?
No.
Bryce Dallas Howard?
No, a little younger.
A little younger. Well, that knocks out the one from It that I was thinking of. Easy A.
Yeah, Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh my God.
She would have been an interesting choice.
She would have been interesting. I'm happy
Very
we
similar.
got what we did.
Yeah.
Oysters are notoriously fancy foodstuff and commonly regarded as an aphrodisiac, which is fun considering their other fun trick, which is...
Are they asexual reproducers?
Not quite.
Oh,
In that vein.
In that vein, okay. Is it about their reproduction?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So it's considered an aphrodisiac.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that the mating situation for oysters is not maybe as romantic?
No.
Okay.
It's that they can, like a number of things that are similar, like snails, they can change their sex. Oysters often start as male and end up as female. So they're just a lot of trans femme oysters out there, and we love that for them. Being trans is hot.
Okay.
There's a no bread plate course.
No plate course.
Chef says it's because bread is for the masses, and the guests are too wealthy for that. Too bad he didn't have a bread from the Spanish bakery Pan Peanut Bakery, which is over $100 a loaf. Why does it cost that much?
Oh, why does it cost that much? Is it covered in gold flaking?
Yeah, there's gold in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Chucky. Despite everything, Andy and Kyle are still alive after all this time since meeting in foster care. What were the names of their foster parents?
Oh, shit. I know exactly what they look like. I could draw these people. Susan's the mom, right? No. Oh, my God. Like Todd or Harold or something for the dad, maybe. Oh, okay. Do you have a hint?
I sort of just expected this to be a stumper. I didn't craft a full hint. I don't know. They don't necessarily go together, but you're in the right vein of like that era of women's names and that type of man's names.
Yeah, I know. The mom's name it's multiple syllables. It's a bit more like fancy. It's like Sonia or like
not quite that fancy.
No.
But
I don't know.
It's Phil and Joanne Simpson.
Okay. Yeah, I know what they look like to a T, but yeah.
Don Mancini is known for loving his creation and creating a lovely family-esque environment in Chucky production. Mancini's father worked in a different field of everyday horror, which partially inspired the early Chucky movies. What was his job?
Was he like a murder detective?
Nope. I use horror with scare quotes for a reason. It's not actually horror.
Oh.
But it's a miserable job.
Was he like in trash disposal or something?
Not that type of miserable. This is something you know.
Did he work in marketing?
He worked in marketing,
Oof.
which is part of...
Oh, right. The second movie is so heavily focused on the corporate side.
Yes, it's very much that. And also
Chucky.
how the marketing affects Andy and like the way he is shown the good guys and how that affects how he deals with Chucky initially before he realizes it's bad. All right. Dolls have been with humanity for a long time. They range from extremely cheap and mass-produced to one-of-a-kind, carefully crafted art pieces. And some of those mass-produced toys now fetch huge amounts of money for collectors. What original trilogy Star Wars character, Ken or Dolls, is the most highly valued?
Oh, I know it's not... Like, it's not one of the popular ones. It's not Vader. It's not Han. It's not Leia. It's not Luke. It's not one of the droids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it like Aunt Beru or Uncle Owen?
Nope, not that niche.
Not that niche? Okay. It's not Boba Fett. It's Boba Fett?
It's Boba Fett.
Okay.
Yep, he is.
Wild.
He is not the most pricey toy. I looked up a list, and the last one was a goddamn automaton. I was like, I wouldn't include that in toys. But that's whatever. So it's sort of like a guy who's playing a flute and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's a engineering marvel. Automatons freak me out a little bit. I did 3 for each, so now we have 3 for Wednesday.
Okay.
Jenna Ortega has been acting the majority of her life and has been in a number of things we've watched before. While she started in TV, her first movie role was in which 2013 Christmas movie?
Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I knew that is because, what was I looking up? I was looking up Wednesday for something, and I clicked on Jenna Ortega's name, and I noticed that it said she was in Iron Man 3. I'm like, who the hell was she in Iron Man 3? She's one of the kids in the background when the like vice president is on the phone with like Rhodey during like Christmas, and he's about to be arrested or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
You thought you'd stump me with that one, huh?
I wasn't sure. I mean, the hint was
I literally
2013
just learned
Christmas
it
movie.
like 2 days, so like it's
What classic Addams Family character is not in the original comics, instead introduced in the 60s TV show?
Is it the grandma?
No, she was there.
Well, so the core families in there. So like Lurch and Morticia Gomez, Pugsley, Wednesday, Thing are all in the original comic. So the grandma's in there. Fester's in the original comic. Is it Cousin It?
Yes.
Okay. Which he had a portrait in the Secret Society, which is fun.
And the last one, which I don't honestly expect you to get, but I needed to talk about it because it was so wild. Lisa Loring, Christina Ricci, and Jenna Ortega are the live-action Wednesday queens, but besides they have one odd thing connecting them.
Oh. Huh. Is it something related to lineage? Like their family? Or?
Not lineage, but that sort of technicality going in there.
Does that have to do with their careers? No. Okay. With their education?
Nope.
I kind of want to guess this, however many guesses it takes, because it's such an interesting question. Let's see. It's something that's cross-generational, because...
Generation is certainly part of it.
Are they all nepotism babies?
No.
They have big families?
Nope. They're each in their own generation of...
Of what? I give up. I don't.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be able to guess this. Yeah.
This is just a thing that I noticed when looking at Wikipedia ages. They have age gaps of 22 years between them. Jenna is 20, Christina Ricci is 42, Lisa Loring is 64. 2024, they will be 22, 44, and 66.
Oh.
Isn't that weird? I was trying to craft a question. I was gonna be like, hey, which age gap is bigger between Christina Ricci and her predecessor or her follower? And then I was like, oh, I can't do that because they're all 22 years apart.
I'm curious now. So the original Addams Family comic came out in 1938. And who was it, Lori?
Lisa Loring.
Lisa Loring. Was born in 1958. So close, but no cigar. I was going to say it'd be funny if it would be very funny. Math.
But yeah, no, I was literally just like, I was trying to find something. I was like, here, these three, the most.
So they're 22 years apart.
Yes, and in 2 years, Jenna Ortega will be 22. So they would be 22, 44, and 66.
Wait, I'm sorry. So Jenna Ortega's currently 20. How old is Christina Ricci right now?
42. So 42. She's 22 years older.
And then
Lisa
Christina
Loring.
Ricci is 22 years younger than Lisa Loring.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. For a second there, you were making it sound like if Jenna Ortega was 2 years older.
No.
I was like, that's getting too specific.
Just specifically 2 years older. It'll be a fun 1 times 2 times 3 situation, which is a thing that happened in my family where I was 16, one of my sisters was 32, and my father was 64. So yeah, it was fascinating to me, and I felt bad about making it a trivia question because it's so weird, and also
but
you don't do
fun,
yeah. So I included it.
There you go. I once was 6, and then I was eventually 12, and then I was eventually 24, and then I was eventually I will be 40. No, I won't. I'll be dying at 30. Yes. So give it 2 more years. The show's got 2 years left in it, folks.
Yeah, just weird little numbered things about. It's
like also the plot of Lost,
and it means in 2 years the next Wednesday will be born. When Jenna Ortega is 22, someone born in 2024 will be the next Wednesday.
Oh, that's
in
funny.
A few decades.
I do realize it is Wednesday Addams. The Addams Family are one of the few women legacy roles, similar to like James Bond or Batman at this point, where it's like the Hamlet of the generation, like they call Hulk, so to speak. I do find it fascinating that the Addams Family continue to be one of the few women-led versions of that. Yeah, would you want to see a longer depth kind of, maybe not a movie, but just like, how Marvel's doing their special presentations, something like that, of maybe a Addams Family thing with the cast from the Wednesday show? Like, would you want to see a longer?
I'd love to see more of the family together.
Yeah. It'd be interesting, but it's also hard because it's like they're clearly doing the school thing.
Yeah, I mean, Enid comes back with her for some sort of holiday thing.
Holiday special.
Yeah, holiday special where like we get to see the family and share, like, at least Enid, maybe another friend.
Yeah. If you like the first season of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, you would like this because they're very similar in like dark tone but campy and fun, and fun. Well, that's us catching up on media stuff. So next week we're very excited to be joined by Brian again. This will be his third, fourth. No, he did 6 episodes of a podcast with us.
Yeah,
that is only available on YouTube, I think, right now. And then he's been on